Bardock, Goku's father, a fan favorite since his very first introduction into the franchise. Like, bro, just look at that trip, my boy. I still remember begging the Dokkan gods for a single copy while summoning on his initial banner. That 25% attack leader skill just seemed so good at the time. But was it though? Like, seriously, how good was Bardock through the years of Dokkan? The first Bardock card to ever release was on March 2015, just 2 months after the beginning of the game. He was the first unit to introduce the all ties plus 25% attack leader skill, which was a great alternative to the plus 300% 3 type leader skills that we were used to. He was also sharing 3 links with one of the hardest units back then, while supporting the entire rotation for 15% attack. Fast forward the end of the year, the meta shifted from attack leader skills to Ki leader skills, with physical ultimate Gohan. Now that Ki became less of an issue and that super attacks were more frequent, there was no going back. December 22. Physical Super Saiyan Bardock drop. Not only was he a Ki+2 leader, he also gave 2 Ki to the whole rotation via his passive, which was incredible at the time. You could have 2 Bardocks as your leaders, keep 1 on each rotation, and then as long as you were above 50% HP, your whole rotation would have 6 Ki. 2016. Strength Bardock and Physical Bardock were still used for their support and versatility. There was also 2 tech Bardocks that released that year. Super Saiyan Bardock was pretty solid at the time with his Supreme Multiplier and Orb Change passive. Great Ape Bardock was also solid with his 70% attack, and that Giant Transformation was extremely clutch at the time. 2017. All the Bardocks that released on the past years awakened during that year. They were all pretty solid. Int Bardock had some use on Int Gogeta's team with his Seal. Strength and Physical Bardock were still very versatile because of their support, and the fact that Strength Bardock awakened into Super Saiyan 2 Bardock meant that you could run him with Physical Bardock now, and you could have them support each other, because yes, back then you couldn't run same name characters together. Tech Bardock still had some use in Battlefield with his leader skill and Giant Transformation. This is also the year Bardock got his first ever Dokkan Fest Super Sentry Bardock. He led the strongest hidden team in the game, while having an incredible link set. Having both over and a flash and prepared for battle meant that you could just never run out of Ki. His team also got a giant buff at the end of the year with the release of the first ever easy AGL Super Sentry Goku and LR Tech Super Sentry Goku, who was, if I remember correctly, the hardest unit in the game, point blank. It was also the year where SBR and Boss Rush first came out, with Bardock's units having the ability to seal. They were quite useful in those events. 2018. The year Bardock got his first ever LR, who was outstanding in SBR. His additional defense against multiple enemies coupled with his seal on 18 Ki and that 4 Ki leader skill made him an all-around killer for that event. As a matter of fact, I remember reusing an LR Bardock friend to clear one of my first ever Super Battle Road stage. Sadly, you could only really use him on 2 Super Battle Road stages, being stage 5 and 11. He also fell off pretty quickly as the meta shifted in 2019 from short to long form content with the release of the legendary Goku event. 2019. No new cards for Bardock this year, but we had a new Super Battle Road stage for the Super Sentry category, and Bardock being the only leader for that category at the time meant that he pretty much was a must-have for that stage. It's also the year in Super Saiyan 2 Goku came out. We did lead the Super Sentry category, but only for 150% attack, and since the Super Sentry category was all about doing damage, people preferred to keep Bardock as the main leader for that team. We also had the awakening of the GOAT Xeno Super Sentry Goku, who was a huge buff for Bardock's team, since most of the Super Sentry units at the time were quite squishy or got most of their defense on Super. 2020, the year started with a Bardock and Venus side banner unit that had arguably one of the best active skill in the game at the time, supporting all allies for 2 turns, but sadly they didn't see much use in hard content because that card excelled against a Frieza enemy who was non-existent in hard content at the time. Same day 2020, Bardock got a new Dokkan Fest, who was pretty decent at the time because of his ability to stack defense. Sadly, he lacked offensively since you had to run him on a full low warrior team to max out his offensive passive in base. He was also very niche since to see his full potential you had to face a Wicked Bloodline extreme class enemy, but at least contrary to Bardock and Gene, you could run this guy in the stage 7 of Extreme Super Battle Road, a stage that had Wicked Bloodline category enemies. We also also had the free-to-play Strength Bardock and Strength Super Saiyan 4 Bardock, who were pretty solid units in their respective team, but not really that great. 2021. The year we got the God event, which was a new type of hard content never seen before, where units had to be good right from the start, which was a big L for Bardock since he needed time to stack. But Super AGL was such a strong team back then that you could get away running him as a floater on MUI's Goku team, and since he benefited from that 170% across the board leader skill, you just had to be careful for the first few turns until Bardock had the ability to stand up for himself defensively. He still sucked offensively though. It's also the year LR Bardock got quite an unexpected but appreciated AZ. He was an extreme super rad road killer, but you know, they had to lock his full potential against wicked bloodline category enemies yet again. 2022, the Great Reset. The year where almost every single unit in the game became irrelevant with the introduction of the red zone and never seen before level of difficulty. So pretty much every single unit in the game were rendered useless in this new form of difficulty content. Plus also the introduction of the 200% leaders who were a must in red zone. Unfortunately, the only 200% leader skill Bardock was under was Raditz. Well, that was until Bardock got another Dokkan Fest card. This new Bardock came in with the best entrance animation in the game. But outside of that, well, he was kind of mid on release since his scouter only worked turns he was on rotation, and past those 5 turns he could struggle completing his passive as the orb changing would wear off. Luckily they fixed his scouter and he's now a unit that will probably never age in any type of short content like SBR. As for red zone, he's decent against Broad because of his type advantage, and with that leader skill his team will only get stronger as time goes on. Like pretty much every single Goku in the game fits under that leader skill, and just look at how many Gokus they released that year. Alongside Tech Bardock, we also got the EZA for the first ever Dokkan Fest Bardock, Super Sentry Bardock. A very disappointing EZA. He was decent offensively but lacked severely defensively, and with the new age of power creep, it just wasn't enough anymore. The following celebration we had the awakening of the Super Saiyan 4 Bardock from 2 years ago, who was honestly not that bad, just restricted to possibly the most niche team in the game, who has possibly the worst design leaders of 2022. We also had the introduction of a new Wicked Bloodline Red Zone that year, and you would think that it would be the time for all these old Bardocks to shine, but sadly it was already too late. The Wicked Bloodline Red Zone was just on another level of power that even at their peak, those Bardock just couldn't cut it anymore. 2023. I don't know what the year reserves for Bardock, but if I had to guess, I don't think that it's going to be better. We could see the easy of AGL Bardock this year, or even Bardock and Guinea, but their kit are just so niche and easiest have been so hit or miss during 2022 that I just can't see them being meta relevant, especially with the upcoming 8th year anniversary power creep that would probably not include any type of Wicked Bloodline hard content. Alright, so thank you for staying till the end. Just know that you are a real one and I appreciate your support. Those videos take a lot of time to make, especially with like my English. I know some of you guys said that my English is not that bad and everything, but it's because I have to like script the video, repeat myself like 10 times until I say the words right. But yeah, thank you for your patience, and let me know in the comments down below who would you like to see next, and until then, peace.